most people, I think by now, agree that there's something not quite right with our modern medical system. Seems kind of sketch, not taking away from good doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals, but I don't think we're necessarily benefiting, and it could be traced back to what happened in the early 1900s, having to do with the Flexner report and John D. Rockefeller and his army of propagandists that swayed public opinion and made people think, oh, yeah, if you take all these pharmaceutical products, you're going to be healthier. I'm not really sure if that's the case. Let's jump into this video and see what this guy has to say about it.
I'm going to start out here something that was kind of a watershed event. It probably doesn't seem like a watershed event to people because a lot of people aren't even aware that it came out. But the Illuminati financed a report through the Carnegie Foundation. It was done in 1910 by Abraham Flexner. It's called the Flexner Report. And the conclusion of Flexner's report was that electricity, electrical and magnetic fields have nothing to do with the human body. And so for the next half century, nobody could research that. See, a lot of people don't understand, Alexandra, that what science has become now. Their image of a scientist is this passionate person that's using logic, that is curious, that's just researching wherever his mind goes. But it's so expensive to do research now that these scientists that we see today, and they're just people, they are working on projects that the elite controllers want. You can't get a grant to do your research unless it lines up with what they want to research. And then a lot of times the research findings are kept secret, so the public doesn't even see the results.
That makes sense. I mean, we know that finance runs this world, right? We know that the people with the money are going to pursue the projects that are beneficial to them, right? That are going to help them get more money, power, and control. I am working on some videos coming out shortly talking about the sugar industry and how they pointed the finger at fats in the 70s and 80s and away from sugar. And we now know that sugar is like probably the worst thing you can put into your body. I'm talking about refined table sugar. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't realize that at this point, but it's coming up all over the place and people are waking up.
So science has been severely tainted, and the few people out there that are legitimate, that buck the system and come up with results that the system doesn't want us to know about, they lose their careers are destroyed. Maybe one of the worst examples of somebody who was ahead of his time was there was a doctor in France who got the other people that worked for him in the hospital to wash their hands so that they would be clean. And he reduced the incidences of death greatly by sanitation. And his career was ruined, and he was kicked out of his profession, and he committed suicide shortly after that. Because you get intense pressure on anybody who's bucking the system. And so...
Yeah. That's pretty wild right there. Oh, people are having better outcomes just by a simple washing of the hands, but you're done. That shows you how ridiculous it has become. And I've said it before, I'll say it again here. I believe the pharma industry and the government would like nothing more than for every American to outsource 100% of their immunity and their bodily functions to the pharma industry. It's sick. It's sinister. People are waking up. Let's continue.
The Flexner report was very helpful to big pharma, and so nobody could come along and say, well, electrical energy, electromagnetic fields, See, electrical field and magnetic field, which are at right angles to each other on electrical current, they are different things. They're not the same thing, but they both influence the body quite a bit. And I brought along a book. This book was written by a very great researcher, a doctor, The Body Electric. It came out in 1987. A lot of people haven't probably read it. Some of my listeners may have. I highly recommend this because he had to buck the system and do all of this research that shows that our bodies, all through our bodies, our entire bodies use electricity. So these electric fields, these magnetic fields, they significantly affect our bodies. And we're going to be talking about that because this modern world has electrical fields, magnetic fields, EMF energy all around us that's millions and trillions of times greater than the natural. And it's disrupting us in incredible ways. It's disrupting our bodies. It's making us weaker, and it's making us sick. Now,
I agree with that. I see a lot of people wearing I want one myself. I'm probably going to pick one up. The Aries Tech. There's a number of different manufacturers that harmonize. My understanding is it harmonizes electromagnetic fields or frequencies or Wi-Fi type material, Bluetooth material, and I think there's solid science behind it too.
In 1975, as you're aware, I left the world system. I knew that there was some major things wrong with the way modern society was going, and I joined the old order Amish, and I got away from cars, electricity, all of this stuff. And one of the things that I would notice when I was Amish is you would have somebody in their 70s or 80s that were very active and healthy. And we're looking at a culture that's outside of the modern medical system. So you think, how are these people thriving when they're outside of the modern medical system,
Yeah.
And anymore, they've gone to having their own schools, so they're outside of the public school system too.
Yeah.
They're thriving in that too. You look at these Amish and Mennonite schools, their 8th graders are studying at the level of senior high schoolers in the public schools. They're like 4 years ahead, easily 4 or 5 years ahead.
That I think is what people are waking up to. I find it bizarre to look around the United States and Western world, specifically the United States. That's my frame of reference. And I look at the healthcare system in the U.S. is enormous. It's a behemoth. I mean, huge mega hospitals, lots of specialists, lots of doctors. Then you look at the public and I'm like, the public looks sicker, fatter, weaker than they ever have. And the healthcare system's growing. And I don't think some people, let me rephrase it. I think people are starting to connect the dots going, wow, we have a big mega healthcare system and we're fatter, weaker, and slower than anyone else in the world. And we're basically unhealthy. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, aches and pains, inflammation, joint pains, or arthritic type stuff. Our bodies look wacky. Like if your healthcare system is growing, that's probably a sign that your government and or your healthcare providers aren't doing you justice. The healthcare system should be shrinking in America if we're supposed to be a first world country with all this great health and wellness system. It should be shrinking, not getting bigger.
Ahead of their peers in public schools, because they're concentrating on actually studying reading, writing, and arithmetic rather than social programming like they're doing in the schools. They're starting to teach little kindergartners and first graders here in the United States about homosexuality, and that's good. I mean, what's that got to do? A little child shouldn't be exposed to that. It's an agenda, and they're working all the social programs.
The dumbing down of the education system, Charlotte Iserby and the other guy, John Taylor Gatto. I'm surprised there's not more people talking out about it. I think there are now, but she was a trailblazer, so was he. And she said, yeah, we're 50, 60, could be 70 years in to the dumbing down of education system. And then I look at the medical system, and again, bless doctors and nurses, but if they came through the public education system, they're already deliberately dumbed down and they don't even know it, just like we all were. I was part of it too. Then you go into higher education, and that it's not like after public education they're going to stop dumbing you down. Yeah, they're going to continue dumbing you down in the colleges because again, they need the populace to be dumb in order to buy this bullshit that they're selling, and people are waking up to it.
Mind control in the schools, and they're dumbing down the kids. The things that they need to know, they're not learning in the public schools. And you can see that. You can see how badly they're dumbed down when you go to, this year I visited a Mennonite school and watched their eighth grade and sixth graders and what they were studying. Very impressive. They're so far beyond the public schools, and they were so well behaved. And I taught Amish elementary school for 2 years, so I know firsthand what I was teaching and the level that they were at. And so I can say firsthand that it's really sad how they've dumbed down our kids, and it made schools prisons and unfun, and we're looking at a cult of death.
Not to mention glorified babysitters. Again, not taken away from baller teachers who are good teachers. I know some that are like on it, but it's a way to get the kids away from the parents, to indoctrinate them at an early age, teach them the dumbest shit on planet Earth, and move them away from truth and from their divinity and from God, and then also get the parents back in the workforce so they can make the money. It's a whole big thing.
I could go on and on about that, but there's so much information that I want to get out that I'm going to keep going. But I recommend The Body Electric. I also recommend a book, Healing is Voltage by Benjamin Rush. And I also recommend a website, sharinghealth.com. That's sharing with a capital S, health with a capital H, all one word, sharinghealth.com. And, my mission in life is not only to expose evil, but to give hope. And so there's a lot of positive information out there, like Healing is Voltage, that book, and sharinghealth.com, where people can find answers. And the research in this book, The Body Electric, it got started because Dr. Becker was researching how are salamanders able to regenerate a limb that they lose. If you cut off a leg, or basically their front leg, which is equivalent to an arm, they'll just regenerate it. And how do they regenerate it? And why are people not able to regenerate? Like if you lose an arm, why can't you regenerate it? Well, he discovered that nerves have to be involved in the regeneration process, and electricity, current, and the paranerves, which they thought was the sheathing to the nerves, is actually carrying electrical energy and information. And there has to be a threshold, a 30% threshold of nerves there. And so because the human body has so much of our nerves centered in our brain, we don't have the threshold to regenerate. We don't have the nerve threshold to regenerate limbs. But electricity can be used to help regenerate. So like what he discovered and he would only take the worst cases, people that were patients that there was no other hope for. But he would take patients that were going to lose their leg, for instance, because they had a broken leg and they had severe infection. And with electricity, low current, the right currents, he would destroy the infection, because electricity can be used to destroy any virus or bacteria if you know the right voltage and amperage and everything. And he would destroy the infection, and using a healing current would activate the body bones to join again. So people that had had breaks, bones that hadn't healed for a year, and the medical profession couldn't do anything with them, he could get them within a short period, maybe a week or so. The bones would start coming back together again and heal themselves. So the person would not have their legs amputated. He'd get their lives back to them. So I want to emphasize that there's a positive side to my.
That's pretty wild. I've heard that having to do with fish and frogs, that they can heal their optic nerve. I don't know if you know this, but in March of this year, I had a partial stroke of the eye. And so this is pretty interesting to me. I didn't know he was going to go into this, but as I'm on my own healing journey, and I'll put together my healing protocol that I've developed on my own. Again, bless the doctors that have helped me, not taking anything away from them. I appreciate them. But after having seen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different doctors, including a couple of eye doctors there, and a neuro-ophthalmologist, again, I appreciate what they've done. Most of what they've done, 98% of what they've done, has been diagnostics and data, talking about what they feel happened to me and the data from that. I haven't received, and I didn't expect it, to be honest. I didn't expect it because I know the medical system, and I don't follow a lot of what they do anyway. I don't believe the science that they believe. I just am on a different path. I never received any healing protocol or any anything to do, even as simple as, hey, drink more water, or meditate more, or take these supplements, or eat this food. I get that. Well, it's from them. I didn't receive that from my doctors on YouTube, including Dr. Ken Berry. I found this guy, Dr. Andy Rosenfar, about an AccuVision out in New Jersey. He's an acupuncturist, or traditional Chinese medicine type guy. I've drawn from these experts that are on platforms like YouTube and the web, and I've built my own protocol, including supplementation, water with sea salt, meditation, which I already had in my toolbox, using that more effectively, oming, right, sound vibration, visualization, everything that I could think of, breathing techniques, oxygenate the blood. My protocol has been robust and deep. And when I went back to the eye doctor that originally saw me, when I went into, he sent me to the emergency room on March 24th of this year, he said, I'm amazed you can see out of that eye. Like, it's a miracle you can see out of that eye. And I was like, well, I didn't know really what kind of damage he was talking about, because again, I don't live in that world. I take very good care of myself, first of all, and then also a lot of it is God's grace too. And I got immediately on this because I knew it was something more serious than something I didn't want to wait on. And so he's like, it's a miracle. I would have bet the house you would never see out of that eye. And I could see out of the eye. Now it's still coming back, right? And I'm back to 2020 with corrective lenses. Now it was 2025. It's now 2020. That's about a month in between. But the bottom line is, it is healing from being completely blind in that eye. And I know a lot of it is, one's God's grace, and two is this supplementation and this healing protocol that I'm doing. Even the guy in the glass clinics, he was a younger kid, he went and pulled my charts, and he said the same thing. He's like, I can't believe this. Like, he's looking at the chart. Again, I don't know what they're looking at. Apparently this is a major event, and I do know that an eye stroke is a major event. It turns out I had a partial eye stroke, and they're all amazed, and I'm not, because one, I do not let their diagnosis into my brain because I don't want it in there. I have my own healing journey, and I'm going to walk it and continue to walk it. Let's wrap up this video.
Message today. I'm not going to be giving a lot of the positives. I'm going to look to the listener to follow up on some of these things where I'm directing people to, like healing is voltage, and go in there. And there's healing machines that will give you the right voltage. to take care of illnesses and to help the healing. And, you know, the system, call it the elite, the Illuminati, the controllers, whatever, they've set up some bogus watchdogs to protect us. Here in the United States, we had the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that's supposed to be protecting us. And then back when I was a teenager, they created the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that's supposed to protect us. And I can give lots of stories about how these agencies did the opposite of protecting us and actually are working for the elite to kill us. They're, instead of being watchdogs.
Let's just play out these last 33
They're
seconds.
more like wolves or pussycats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, amen to that. I agree 100%. That's why when the government came on the scene in 2021 with their medicine to help that VIR-US that was going around, and the FDA was like, yeah, it's tested and approved, safe and effective. I mean, I didn't have to even think about it for 1 second, because studying nutrition for 20 years and seeing all of the bullshit that the FDA allows in food, I'm like, holy shit, stay the F away from me, bro. I appreciate, not even that. I don't even appreciate what they're doing. I mean, I could appreciate you trying to snow people, and you're going to get a lot of people in your web of lies and deception, but you're not going to get the people who study nutrition, because they know about the seed oils, the hydrogenated oils, the artificial dyes, the artificial flavor enhancers, the excitotoxin chemical flavor enhancers, the hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated. They know about all that shit that is straight up POISON for the body. And they're like, hey, I don't know who you're trying to pull one over, peeps, but you're not going to get the people who know nutrition. And thank God that I was on that train and moved in those circles, because many people didn't, and they bought that bullshit, and I feel for them. But the good news is, I think that was their last effort to try to get us in. I think people are waking up at a incredible rate now. Let's see what people are saying in the comments section down below. All facts, 100%. I read about this a long time ago. They healed with tuning forks, and tuning fork is one of the ways that I'm healing my eye, 528 hertz. I'm also going to pick up a 128 hertz soon. I'd recommend the book, The Invisible Rainbow. That's the other one I kept thinking it was called The Rainbow. That's the other one I was trying to think about, because it sounds similar. Let's see what he replied here. Thanks for the tip. I'll check it out. Yeah, I've heard The Invisible Rainbow a lot. Very interesting and enlightening video. We really are living in the Matrix. We are. Rife Machine, JW Labs, not sure what that is. Loved the video. Not so much about the Flexner report in there. However, good stuff. I'll continue to dive in and find some other videos about the Flexner reports, including some shorts I'll share on my social media at GMarkPhillips. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.